नमो हिरण्यबाहवे हिरण्यवर्णाय हिरण्यरूपाय हिरण्यपतये अम्बिकापतये उमापतये पशुपतये नमो नमः। ॐ नमो हिरण्यबाहवे हिरण्यवर्णाय हिरण्यरूपाय हिरण्यपतये अम्बिकापतये उमापतये पशुपतये नमो नमः। ॐ नमो हिरण्यबाहवे हिरण्यवर्णाय हिरण्यरूपाय हिरण्यपतये अम्बिकापतये उमापतये पशुपतये नमो नमः। सर्वविद्यानां ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां ब्रह्माधिपति ब्रह्मणोऽधिपति ब्रह्मा शिवो मे अस्तु सदा शिवो। ईशानः सर्वविद्यानां ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां ब्रह्माधिपति ब्रह्मणोऽधिपति ब्रह्मा शिवो मे अस्तु सदा शिवो। ईशानः सर्वविद्यानां ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां ब्रह्माधिपति ब्रह्मणोऽधिपति ब्रह्मा शिवो मे अस्तु सदा शिवो। तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे वाग्विशुद्धाय धीमहि तन्नः शिवः प्रचोदयात्। महादेवाय विद्महे रुद्रमूर्तये धीमहि तन्नः शिवः प्रचोदयात्। नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय विश्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Hello, hello, hello. This is Terra Queen Jamila, aka High Priestess Jamila. And I want to talk to you guys about something that's really, really important and what Spirit wanted me to discuss today. First of all, welcome to the channel. If you are new here, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Okay. Also, as you come in the room, I would appreciate it if you guys would hit that thumbs up. Thank you very much. Okay, because you know they hide me from YouTube. Just to give you guys my spiritual credentials, I'm an empath, I'm a medium, psychic medium, and I'm a healer. Okay. And I wanted to come and speak to you guys about the difference between actual real healing, which is reality, which is what your body, your spiritual body, your physical body is able to do versus non-reality, which is spiritual transference. Now, most of mankind has been soiled by religion. And so this is the reason why you have your generational hexes that include health problems, mental problems, money problems, and relationship problems. So what a lot of, or even our own ancestors believed and what they practiced heavily was spiritual transference. And let's start talking about spiritual transference, which also can represent spiritual transference. So this is when you interfere with another person's spiritual journey or spiritual nature. This particular practice that is being done by people has created more death and destruction than guns, drugs, alcohol alone. Spiritual transference actually is a non-reality. Let's say, for example, you have a horrible disease that runs in your family. You know how they always say it runs in the family. That's a cop-out. It's a cop-out, and it is also a non-reality created by people that wanted to destroy you. Now, I want to show you guys a very, very interesting news broadcast that was done on ABC News. They actually just today, I think it was ABC News. What we find is that people are still practicing under the belief that they should sacrifice the life of another to save their own. So, for example, there's a lot of people that have all sorts of spiritual illnesses, and they think, oh, well, instead of me actually healing myself, because that's too hard, I'm going to try to transfer this illness to someone else. That is a non-reality unless the person is very ignorant on what you're doing. And I don't care if you have the most powerful witches working for you, there is nobody that is going to be able to successfully transfer any kind of illness, situation, problem, curse to another person, especially if that person and their spirits are spiritually aware of what is happening. So what we have is we have a lot of people that they'll say, oh, I'm going to transfer this to you, or I'm going to transfer that to you. But in reality, you can't do that. Okay. You know, when you was a kid and you skinned your knee and that skin on your knee healed like 2 days later and you just forgot about it. It was probably one of the most painful experiences that you've ever had in your life, but you healed from it and you eventually forgot about it. That is the reality of your human body. That's the reality of it. But we have some people who still have not learned. So technically, according to biblical texts, you're just supposed to be able to transfer all your problems to your kids. And people know that. And they don't want to do that. So what they'll do is they'll try to transfer all of their illnesses and problems and issues to other people. That is a non-reality. And that is a trick. Because as long as whatever it is can take out your bloodline, and it will take out your bloodline, it will continue to feed off of your bloodline, and it will continue to spread illness throughout your family until you are smart enough to face reality. Now, right now, everybody is hell-bent on not facing reality because healing is hard. Healing is not easy, especially when you got to heal from something big and bad, like cancer or heart disease. And what people have been doing is they have been transferring these illnesses to their own children. But there's a lot of people that don't want to do that. They feel bad for doing that. But then they'll say, well, I don't feel bad about transferring this to a complete stranger or somebody that I may not like or somebody that I may not agree with. But that is a non-reality. You will never, ever be able to transfer your spiritual disease to somebody else. And if somebody is telling you that, they are lying to you. In fact, there's some people that will charge you a lot of money to try to transfer your negative energies to somebody else. And that just ain't gonna work. You ain't gonna never be able to find nobody that is gonna do that. Okay? Shout out to the chat. Hello, you guys in the chat. I love you guys too. Welcome to the chat. Healing is a reality. Spiritual transference, that's not a reality. And 9 times out of 10, when somebody needs healing, what they'll do in order for them to not face that reality, because reality is harsh, in order for them to not face that reality, they're going to want to transfer that spiritual energy to you. This is also the whole covenant of generational hexes. This is the generational hex that has been contracted out through your family. This is why if you are a person that isn't depressed or down and out or in a bad way, this is the reason why if you are the oddball that's sticking out, then your family members are going to work hard, and they're going to do overtime to try to transfer that into another person. And if they can sacrifice that other person, then they think, well, this is over. Well, then why is it that everybody's dying in your family then, if that was the case? Why is it that even though all these sacrifices are being made, folks in your family is still dying and they're still taking medication for cholesterol, which those cholesterol medications, they don't do nothing but mess up your brain. So you can lower your cholesterol, but then you're gonna be out of the you gonna be in a bad place spiritually. Okay. Do not listen to somebody that tells you that you can spiritually transfer your energy to somebody, especially if they say, oh, well, this person is somebody that came into your family and they came in and they the devil and they bad and they gonna be our Jesus figure. So there's always not just one Jesus in every family, but several in each generation. So what happens is that each generation becomes degenerated. They become degenerated. And this is where you get your degenerates from. Because what is being taught to people is to just simply transfer that energy to someone else so that they can bear the burden. And that's not what's right. All of the practitioners that work that way, they have found out the hard way that you're not able to do that. Even if you don't find out right away, you're going to find out at a later date. And that's the wrong thing to do. If you have gotten so bad, because ignorance is what creates disease. Ignorance. A lot of people, they run around here, they shop at grocery stores and they tell themselves, well, this food is poison, it's going to kill me. So when you put that food in your body, that's exactly what it's going to do, is it's going to turn into poison in your body because of what your mind is creating around it. Okay. So what they'll do is they'll say, well, I need a host. And this was depicted in the movie Drag Me to Hell. Let's talk about Christine Brown. Christine Brown had something heavily on her family. Her father was taken to hell. The mother was taken to hell through alcoholism. And the mother had a lot of problems. And so what happened was the spirit began to test her. And they wanted to see if she was, what's the word that I'm looking for? They wanted to know if she could break that cycle. So what Christine Brown did was she went to fake spiritualists. That, you know, the practitioner that is depicted in that movie Drag Me to Hell, she had no idea how to remove that situation from her. So what she did was she did a seance and everything fell apart. And the guy that she went to, he told her, he said, well, then you can just transfer this to someone else. Pass the button to someone else. But what ended up happening is that Sylvia Brown, her spirits was so strong that she didn't transfer the button to Sylvia Brown or Sylvia Ganush. I don't know how Sylvia Brown came up in here. That's crazy. She didn't transfer that. What it did was it tricked her because her heart was not in the right place. Her heart was still very dark. Christine Brown was a very, very selfish, spiteful person. And even though she had everything that she needed, she decided to make a decision to put this woman out of her house, which is why the boss gave her he had her make that decision. And she made the wrong decision. So what she did was she tried to transfer that button back to Sylvia Ganush. And Sylvia Ganush's spirits was so very keen that she transferred a quarter. So she actually wasn't able to transfer it to back to Sylvia Ganush, because there was a deeper lesson that Christine Brown needed to learn. So what happened in the end? What happened in the end of Drag Me to Hell? She got drugged to hell. She couldn't escape it. She thought it was all over. And at the bitter end, she ended up being taken by that Lamia. So it's the same thing. If you have some kind of spiritual disease or some kind of ailment, you might as well just go through the process of healing yourself instead of trying to transfer that over to other people. That is not the way that it is. That has nothing to do with justice, righteousness, or anything. You have to be able to clean up your own closet, because there are some very, very powerful healers out there. And see, this is the job of the healer. What is the healer's job? The healer's job is to heal. Or spark a flame in your mind, body, and spirit to heal whatever you're ailing from. But what a lot of people like to do is they don't want to go through that very long process of healing. So what people will do is they will transfer it either to their child, or they will, if somebody loves their children, they'll say, well, I'm not transferring this to any of my children. Let me just go and find somebody. And that's the same thing that Christine Brown was doing when she was at that diner. Okay. So going to the wrong spiritualist or going to a bad guru, that was not the advice that he should have given to her. And see, he saw her as a selfish problem anyway, because he could see her, he could see that inner demon. So the reason why that demon came for her is because she was not worthy of protection. So that's why that demon was able to come over her in the first place. And it was able to upset everything in her life. And instead of her going through the process, because healing spiritually can be very painful. And the main thing that you're going to be healing from spiritually is your overactive solar plexus. If your solar plexus is either overactive or underactive, and mainly it's the folks that have an overactive solar plexus, because they are blinded by their ego. So they don't have a heart. Their heart is dead. And the only way you're going to wake that heart up is if you heal it from the bottom of your body to the top of your head. So there's a lot of people that they'll say, oh, so this is where we come into the relationship between the narcissist and the empath. So a lot of people, they just see empaths as cotton balls, marshmallows. Oh, I'm just going to transfer this to you and then I'll be okay. That's not reality, because you're not going to be okay, because number one, that person can just send that energy right back to you. They just send it right back to you, and then you be even sicker than you were before. So healing is not something that you can just do at a bargain rate, and it's not something that you can do by just sending that stuff to other people. That's not reality. It's never been a reality that we can sacrifice our family members. People have been doing sacrifices for the past 12 to 20 generations. They've been passing this stuff down to their family members, and it still don't make a bit of difference, because you still end up dying, and it's gotten worse. So a lot of people will think, oh, well, I'll just either get pregnant and get an abortion. There's some people that have an intent when they get an abortion is that they think, well, I'm going to heal this horrible affliction within me by getting an abortion, and that's my sacrifice. No, sacrifice is not a reality. Just like with Jesus, it was not a reality that sacrificing Jesus was going to heal those diseases, because all of those diseases manifested in people even after the sacrifice of Jesus. So the Bible is complete hogwash when it comes to that. When it comes to Jesus died for our sins, it didn't make anything different. And I don't believe in original sin. So you're not going to find that over here, that original sin was a trick. The original sin, according to many, many spiritualists, was your mind. and how it would manifest those diseases within your family. So this is what I do with the generational hex removers and then a series of cleanses and healings. Okay? Because here's the thing about it. If everybody could just transfer their problems to other people, we wouldn't be so overpopulated. And there's a lot of people, they'll say, dang, I got this thing on me and I just got to transfer this to somebody else. That ain't gonna never work. Okay? And there was actually, let me see if I can find this on YouTube, where there was actually a news report on in mainstream media. So I told y'all that witchcraft is going to go mainstream. Okay. A lot of your spiritualists out there, they still think like a Christian. Oh, we've got to do a sacrifice of a human being. A lot of them do. We'll just put all of this negative, bad energy into the empath or into the healer, and then somehow they're just going to magically get rid of it. Well, that's not their job. Their job is not to take your illness and then heal from it, and then you'll be okay. First of all, that's a very negative intent, and you should not be doing that. Okay? So when you are, exactly, Faith York, when you are in a desperate position and you're scared and your doctor done told you, well, you got 3 months to live, and you'll continue to take the meds that the doctor gave you, but then you'll go to a spiritualist. So then at that point, you're serving two gods. At that point, you're serving two gods. I'm going to take the meds, but then I'm going to go to a spiritualist and I'm going to say, transfer all of this negative energy to either my son or transfer it to my daughter. Now, your son and your daughter done got hip to your game. So then you say, transfer it to an empath, just some random empath, because, you know, that person ain't going to know, but spirit is going to let them know. So whatever it is that you have, whether or not it's anxiety, drug addiction, schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder, AIDS, HIV, herpes, you can no longer transfer that to people. Times have changed a whole lot, and people are going to have to start dealing and healing through that spiritual reality. Every disease known to man is a mental thing, in my humble opinion. It's all mental. It don't even have anything to do with what you eat, because they done poison all of the fruits and vegetables, and they done poison all the animals, right? They have. And what you have to do is you have to learn to remove that poison. But what a lot of people will do is they will have blind faith in this whole sacrifice thing. But that wasn't nothing but a lie. The whole Jesus thing, that was a lie. Now, as far as with animal sacrifice, this is very, very different, because animals will sacrifice you to live. So we have a lot of people that's running around here saying, oh, the human race is so screwed up. And I feel better towards animals, and I must keep the animals and get rid of the humans. Well, as soon as you get rid of all of the humans, the animals are going to eat you alive. Is the reality of that. So there's not one animal that's going to sacrifice its baby to save you, not ever. You're never going to see any animal, whether or not it's cat, dog, rhinoceros, seagull, lion. There will never be an animal that is going to sacrifice its offspring for you. They're never going to do it. They're going to sacrifice you to feed their babies. If you're roaming through the jungle and there's a pack of lions and hyenas, they're going to all eat you. You know why? Because it's nature. And in nature, you can heal. So we've been programmed heavily through the movies that we watch, the TV shows that we watch, but it's only been recently where people have been telling the truth. That is why I bring up that movie, Drag Me to Hell. It let you know that these human sacrifices, the gods, are no longer allowing it. So then what are you going to do? You're going to have to change and switch up your whole thing. And that's basically what your quote unquote haters or your enemies are doing. And that's why they stay on you, because they've got to have something to absorb their bad energy. But if you're like me and you're constantly cleansing it and sending it back, you know, then they thinking, oh, shoot, what are we going to do? And they're looking for any type of sign within you that you have taken that illness, but you haven't, especially when you know what you're doing. So spiritual transference is not a reality. This is a non-reality. This is a non-reality. This has been a non-reality. Yeah. Thank you, Faith. So the only way to heal yourself, which healing comes in many different forms. If you having problems within your love life, it's because your heart chakra needs to heal. If you having problems within your financial issues, then your solar plexus needs to heal. If you're having problems, if you're having mental problems, then your third eye needs to heal. There is no way of transferring your disease, illness, or sickness to anybody else. This is why, you know, a lot of people, especially people that have spiritual protection, you can't transfer that to them. There's only healing, and healing is a reality because there's a lot of healers out here. But they're confused. They're very, very, very confused and ill-advised. Now, there's many, many different ways of healing. If you're healing from a bad relationship, you just have to get away from the bad relationship after a while. You know, they say time heals all wounds. But if you have somebody that is consistently bothering you and harassing you, hey, I'm here, hey, then, you know, that can put that, you know, mental perception in a lot of people, which is why a lot of people can make you physically ill. Okay. And the only way that you're going to stand up to that, and the only way that you are going to heal yourself, is to accept, first of all, that you do have the ability to heal yourself, but then you also have to accept the reality that somebody else has the power to heal you. And there's a lot of people that don't believe that. They just have a hard time believing. So that's why whenever I do work for you, I always tell you, well, if you don't believe that it's going to work and you done paid me all this money, then it ain't going to work. Then you just tricking yourself. Okay. A lot of men walk around with this ignorance. They are very ignorant, and many of them choose to be ignorant out of their hatred for women, because women have for a long time been the sacrifices of men. And we've recognized this years and years ago, and it's something that I've been training for. So a lot of men, they can't really see you as a love interest because you're just a sponge. You're just a sponge for their bad spiritual energy. So this is why I'm very, very careful about taking male clients. Facts. I'm very, very careful about taking male clients for certain types of work, because what you can see is that what will end up happening, because a lot of men, and this is not just in America, everybody always thinks that it's got something to do with America. This is all over the globe. People have become very confused, unless you worship Shiva, because Shiva is a healer. So a lot of these diseases that we have in the United States, they don't have those diseases in third world countries. They don't. There's a lot of areas in these third world countries that they don't seem to have those problems. A lot of y'all have been given a lot of propaganda and lies. Why do they not want you to heal? They feed off of your spiritual scabs. They like the taste of your scabs. You know, when a wound is healing and it'll start forming a scab, and that's dried, dead flesh, or either moist, wet flesh that they want to feed off of. So they feed off of that. I found that out years ago when my daughter got hit by a car. I realized because her scab kept coming off. Coincidentally, I don't know what was going on with that, but the scab just kept coming. Like I would leave and come back, and then the scab would be gone, just like somebody ate the scab. Well, we know that your skin is healing under that scab. So even after my daughter healed, she had like a little light spot on it because it was so hungry for that scab. The same thing when you are hurting, your heart forms a scab around it, and that entity feeds off of that pain. So this is the reason why nobody wants to actually heal you. They don't want people to actually heal because they're interdimensional beings that feed off of human pain. So human beings are not at the top of the food chain. And you have to be very, very careful to not be seduced by these types of people after you have been harmed, and then you turn the wrong direction when you have went down the wrong road and you have decided the only way is for me to go and feed off of the life force of another person. And it's going to break your body down really quickly. It will break your body down quicker than anything else. I have seen people that have been through this. Sometimes if you have certain ailments, mental illnesses, problems, it can take you years to heal from it. And it is better that you go through that healing process than copping out and trying to send it to someone else, especially a practitioner, especially a healer, because most healers are going to pick up on that, and they're going to come and they're going to see somebody like me, and they're going to say, wow, I didn't know that. A lot of people still don't want, because that entity will have such a negative effect on your brain. It'll have you thinking all big about yourself, and I'm so big, and I'm bigger than this, and I'm bigger than that. And baby, all you doing is avoiding the inevitable, because it's going to get you eventually. It'll get you. And when you get caught up in it, and while you at the bitter end, because death has become a reality for you. See, death is not a reality for me. Okay. I have had many incidences of death in my life. I've actually had incidences where somebody shot through my window and killed me, but God is never going to make that a reality for me. Ever. So what will happen is that there won't be a reality of that death that's happening, but then rather there will be a switch to another reality, because you guys got to understand that there sometimes is several different realities that's happening at the same time. You just got to choose which road you're going to go down. When you go to a spiritualist that says, well, let me ask you a question. You want all this money and you want this. You got to sacrifice. Oh, well, I can't stand this chick down the street. No. They'll tell you, no. This got to be somebody that you love. This got to be somebody that you care about. And you so desperate for whatever it is that you're looking for. And then you'll say, well, I do got a cousin, or I got a daughter, or I got a son. And yeah, she kind of pissed me off a couple of weeks ago. So And then I think I had the baby by an incubus. So if I had the child by an incubus, then that means that it's okay for me to sacrifice it. At that moment, you are signing away not only their life, but you're signing away your life, because it's always going to get you in the end. Okay? It's always going to get you in the end, because the reality is that you could have healed and figured out that situation. Now, most people go to people in anger and they say, oh, this person pissed me off and I got to do something about this person. And they done messed up my false ego and I'm mad at them. It's a very, very bad thing to do. Because in the first place, you yourself needed to heal, which was the reality. Your solar plexus and your third eye needed to heal. But that spiritualist they were a spiritualist, but they were a bad guru. I call them bad gurus. Whenever we see the high priestess show up in the reading, the magician and the hierophant, and then sometimes even the emperor and the empress and the moon card. There's several. This is the reason why I use the tarot, and I will always use the tarot. First of all, I'm an empath, and so my spiritual gifts flow through my body first. And I don't have time to be contracting everybody's illness to tell them what it is, because then I'd be sick all the freaking time. So this is the reason why we use tarot cards, because we're able to visually see it instead of empathically seeing it. Okay. Spiritual transference is avoidance, is all that it is. It's just avoidance. Okay. There's a lot of people, they say, oh, well, high blood pressure runs in my family. High blood pressure runs in your family, but you get together every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night and yell, shout, and scream at each other. And all throughout the week, you stressing. Stress is what's causing the high blood pressure. It's not something that is in your family. It's stress. But what they'll do is they'll say, oh, this runs in the family. So, and this is how a lot of our generation got tricked. So there's people that are 13, 14, 15, and 20 years old dropping dead of heart attacks because that parent sacrificed that child for just a couple of more years of a miserable life. So this is why Christine Brown was dragged to hell, because her heart was not in the right place. She was looking around trying to find somebody to give that curse to her. Remember when she was at that diner and she looked at an old man, he was already sick on a breathing machine. And it looked like he was there alone. So this is where, when single folks, if you single, they really want to sacrifice you. So that's why a lot of these spiritualists come out. They be like, oh, I got a husband. Don't try to do this to me. Right? But as soon as she saw his wife walk up, she said, oh, I can't give this to him because he has a wife. So if you're single and you haven't went under that covenant, and if you're single in the biblical sense, because none of us are single, we all have a spiritual husband that is manifested. All of us do. And that spiritual husband is going to protect. Okay, now some of y'all spiritual husbands can be an incubus or either some other type of entity. And then that's a whole another that you're going to have to fight that battle to separate yourself from whatever that entity is. Okay. Spiritual transference ain't nothing but avoidance of your illness, of your disease. That's all that it is. And that's what a lot of people do. They want to spiritually transfer something negative to you. And a lot of people, well, they'll do it on a daily basis. Oh, I got this demon and it manifests in me every single day. And oh, look at her. Well, she's single, and we're gonna make up something in our minds and say, oh, she's single, so then it's okay for us to do that to her. And then spirit sitting up there looking at you like, oh, really? Oh, really? You think you're gonna transfer that over to her? Ain't gonna happen. Because you done already tried that for years and years, and that demonic entity always manifests itself, whether or not it's in your husband or your kids. So the proper way to do it is to stand up to that entity and tell it to leave. But a lot of people will say, leave and go over there and bother her. But that's not my spiritual responsibility to be bothered with your entity unless you come and pay me to do it. Now, when you come and pay me money, see, money is the sacrifice. That's why I always tell people, stop trying to do stuff easy. You know what? There's a lot of people that would rather sacrifice their own child than to pay $1,500 for a generational X remover. What's wrong with folks? What are you thinking? Oh, I'd rather transfer this to my kid. And then that's a spiritual manifestation about how you feel about yourself and your bloodline. So even if you do make that sacrifice, that spirit gonna still come for you, which is why even when Christine Brown sacrificed her cat and said, I don't want your cat, I want you because you the one that ain't worth a crap. And they always blame it on the devil. But the devil is the one that is responsible for these insolent souls. So there's a lot of people that they'll say, well, I don't want to pay no $1,500 for this. I want to just go ahead and sacrifice my child, and then that's going to make it happen. Well, honey, let me tell you something. Your child came into this world, especially if you had a child during the 60s or the 70s. If you gave birth to a child between the 60s and the 70s, these were the children of the corn. These were the children that were not going to be sacrificed, rather they sacrifice you. Okay? So y'all need to get out of that thought process of I can just transfer me. See, the reason why your parent told you, well, you know, high blood pressure runs in our family. So you just better get ready. What? And then what they'll do is they'll try to do everything in their power to manifest that. And it's nothing but a self-fulfilling prophecy. But see, this is a cop-out. And there is no deity except for maybe ones that's going to lie to you, you know, just to get your energy, and the energy of your family is still going to take you out. And this is what we saw in American Horror Story Coven. So if you go and look at Coven, you can see that the part that was played by, good Lord, I don't know why I can't never remember that lady's name. That white lady in Coven. She was ready to sacrifice her own child to get rid of that illness. And see, the difference was that her child, you know, was very important, was very smart. And they said, oh, no, no, no. She said, oh, no, no, no. And she ended up dying anyway. She went through all of that. She sacrificed one of the other witches of the Coven, and she ended up dying anyway. She ended up dying of that disease. And I think that the way that it was that she went ahead and just, you know, she just gave up in what she was doing. But this is just movies that I'm talking about. But, you know, a lot of times you can get a lot of spiritual information and, you know, from these, because, you know, people that are in Hollywood that are making these movies, you know, how do you know that they're not spiritualists? How do you know that they're not sending you a specific message about a situation that you may be in? So as a mother, I would never try to transfer my spiritual bad energy to any of my children. In fact, chances are, if you giving birth to healers, then that child is going to be able to heal you. But there's a lot of people that think that healers and empaths and your religion done told you that they was evil witches. But in reality, the religion is witchcraft as well. It was all witchcraft. Okay. I'm going to try to find that news article real quick. It was an article that I saw earlier today. And it was talking about, well, first of all, persecution is driving Christians out of the Middle East, just to let y'all know, because people are waking up. But there was also an article that said that there were certain parts of the Bible that were cut out to fool you and trick you so that you didn't know that that religion was used to enslave you. It was used to enslave your mind, body, and spirit. I'll have to find that. I'll have to find that article. I can't believe that I can't find it now, because it was actually like it was on, I believe it was either NBC News or ABC News. Okay. Give me a second. I'm going to try to find that article and I'll be right back. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm going to find this article because I get articles through my phone. And I bet you I'll be able to find it because it's trending in the news today. Let me see if I can find it. And so right now we're going through this awakening, which means that a lot of those entities and demons, they done left this planet. They don't have no place on this planet. Because what they did was they came down here and they lied to people just so that they could feed off of your energy. Hold on, let's find this. I don't know where that story went. It was either CNBC News or NBC News that came out with that article, and they were talking about the Bible. And they were talking about how the Bible, how people that, release the Bible, they left out certain stuff because the reason why they left that information out of there is because they didn't want you to know that the reason why they even did that religion is in the first place was so that it could enslave you, so that it would make slaves more palatable. Okay. I know that wait a minute. This isn't it. This is not it. It was something else that I saw. Oh, well. I may not be able to find it because this was an article from today. Hold on, wait a minute. That looks like, wait a minute. No, that ain't it. Because they use the same picture of the Bible. So a lot of people, what does it say in the Bible? Sins of the father, right? So what does sins of the father mean? Sins of the father means that if your father is indoctrinated under Christianity, that you will suffer because of what your father did. Now, is that fair? No, because a lot of us are a separate entity from our father. Okay, so basically what it says is that if your father makes any mistake, that is in that Bible, that means that they can also take your children. Well, see, that ain't nothing but a spiritual covenant that your father or your mother or your grandfather and your grandmother accepted, but they did it in ignorance. Okay, they did it in total ignorance. Okay, so what that means is that it don't matter if you're even a good person. That means that demon can still come and take you because it's a demon. The person or persons that wrote the Bible, that was a demon. That was a demonic entity. It was. Okay, there's no arguing about that because we can see that religion ain't did nothing but created death. And a lot of Christians, they like, well, I got to have a sacrifice. And the nearest sacrifice is going to be their child. So this is why there's such a prevalence of parents selling out their kids. And trust and believe they had an agenda from the beginning to sell you out. And so what they did was they trained you and they programmed your mind to feel that you weren't even worthy of coming out of that covenant. So this is why for me it's very, very scary, knowing that my father in the year 2019 still chooses to practice Christianity, which is basically witchcraft to the 10th power is basically what it is. It's just witchcraft in which they bring forth sacrifices. Okay. So none of those people were facing reality. It's been thousands and thousands and thousands of years since Christ was even thought of. And there has not been a second coming of the Christ, and there never will be. It will never be a second coming of the Christ, but there will always be the Antichrist, because the Antichrist is somebody that is going to tell you the truth. Now, when you tell somebody the truth, when you tell these people the truth, they automatically reject it because they want to avoid their problems. They don't want to heal because healing can hurt. And the longer and longer that you avoid healing, and there's some people that avoid healing their entire life until they just succumb to all sorts of diseases, cancers, and all of that. The cancer is in the religion. That's where the cancer comes from. And then also the use of substances in the air and in the medications and in certain things that are there to destroy your discernment about this. Okay, yeah, it is crazy, ain't it? It is crazy, Jay Lawrence. It's crazy, but it's the truth. So healing is a process that you're going to have to go through, and this is coming straight from Archangel Raphael, who is a energy. Archangel Raphael is energy, is basically what he is. He's an angel because we have to make these things up in our minds to be in human form. But to be honest with you, Archangel Raphael is a big, kind of aquamarine light is basically what he is. He represents energy. Okay. So when it comes to healing, and when it comes to any deity or any energy that heals you, The reality of it is that you can't sacrifice another to do that. Now, you can spiritually possess somebody, absolutely. You can do that. We've talked about that. But when it comes to healing your body, and let me tell you something, just because you possess somebody don't mean that you healing. There's a totally different thing between healing and spiritual possession. Because I was doing a lot of research on Prince, and I'm actually going to be doing a reading on Prince because Prince really, really, really wants me to do a healing. And by the way, there's a lot of people that feel like Prince is not really dead. You can still channel somebody even if they're not dead. So a lot of people will come to me and say, well, Michael Jackson ain't even dead, so how are you channeling him? You can channel any human being that is alive or dead. We don't just have to channel. We have the ability to channel live human beings that are alive. That's why we're able to do spiritual readings on human beings that are still alive. And you can also channel their energy too. So the same thing with Prince. I did a lot of research on Prince last night and found out that Prince actually had epilepsy as a child. And it was thought that there was a demonic spirit that healed him of that. But then years later, at the age of 57, Prince, they say that he had an addiction to painkillers because he was in a lot of pain. So again, it is the avoidance of the healing, because people just want the pain to go away instantly. But sometimes it's going to have to hurt before it feels good. And in fact, all of the time, it's going to have to hurt before it feels good. Okay. So the process of healing is a very painful one. When you have a cut, it may not even hurt that bad. But when you realize that you're cut, you say, oh, shoot, I got a cut. And then that's when the pain kicks in. But then as your skin is healing, that cut in that wound has to mend your skin back, and all of the, the capillaries and the muscle, depending on how far down the cut is going. So that can be extremely painful. And there's a lot of people that, when you're going through that healing process, it's going to hurt, it's going to itch, it's going to burn. But that's the reality. So I get a lot of people that they have the consensus that we're not actually here and that our bodies are not real. Now, that's very dangerous, because your body is a transporting device for spirit. So for you to ignorantly think, well, my body is not real. No, your body is actually very real. And whatever is going on with your spiritual and your etheric, that's what's going to manifest within your body. So that's why people will sometimes get boils, acne, eczema. It just depends on what's going on. And I have a theory about eczema. I feel like eczema is highly related to the reptilian gene, because eczema looks like scales. It looks like scales on your skin. So, if you are the child of a reptilian and you're a hybrid, then that's a whole other thing, because, you can choose which DNA you accept as well. You can choose that. You can, especially if you're a hybrid. Now, a lot of these people came out of certain people that were, they created, the being was created either through sex or some other type of way, because everybody don't have sex the same, right? And so what ends up happening is that you have this healing process that you have to go through, but a lot of people will avoid it. And the way that they will avoid it is they will avoid it by trying to transfer this to someone else. But what's going to happen is that their spirits is going to say, wait a minute, what is this?
What?
They're feeling. This ain't right. And depending on how smart that person is, and depending on how hold on a second. Hold on. Okay, guys, I'm back. So when it comes to the process of healing somebody that has a certain type of bloodline, you know, those are the people that are more than likely to want to sacrifice another human being, because I feel as though it is reptilian in nature. And reptilian is just a label. That's just a way for us to label it. And that's what we call it, is reptilian, because a reptilian you know, they definitely do feed off of your pain as well as your healing process. And we've got many people that have connections with reptilians, and they're not even on this earth. They're not even in this dimension, but they're feeding on us through other dimensions. That's the reason why, if you have an ancestor, if that's just like I made a pot of chili, my ancestors wanted a bowl of that chili. They're like, give me some of that. So, you know, so you can actually send certain energies to other dimensions. So this is what they're doing. And a lot of the healers that are on this planet, instead of healing human beings, we sending this energy out to a black hole. Because that's all it is a black hole. And many people don't know. But I'm going more so over the subject of this particular you know, hangout that I'm doing. But it all ties into it. Okay, so but I'm gonna tell you something, the whole spiritual transference thing, this is a very old and outdated, in which it never worked anyway. Spiritual transference does not work, because if you transfer that entity or that energy to somebody else, and then it actually does destroy that person, then it's going to either come back to you. It's going to definitely come back to you after it's done destroying that person. So there's a lot of people that, you know, they just want to buy time. Well, I just want to buy time. I just want to buy some time. So let me transfer this to somebody else. Well, baby, that ain't going to work either. And see, there's a lot of people that are so far gone. They in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they still trying to, I'm going to tell y'all something. A lot of y'all parents was full of shit. A lot of them were, because they did not have the discernment. And so what their intent was when they told you, well, we've got all of this illness that runs in our family. So that was them trying to transfer it to you. And they will transfer it to all of the younger people in the family. And they'll say, well, I don't even want my bloodline to continue on anyway. Now, why should you be the unfortunate victim of that ignorance? A lot of people are ignorant. They don't realize what is happening. So there's a lot of people that say, I don't want no healing, because if I heal from this, I'm going to have to face all of the evil that I did. I'm going to have to face all the mistakes that I made. I'm going to have to face all of these things that I did. And see, that is a part of the healing process, is facing your reality. You can't never heal without facing your reality as to why that illness manifested in you in the first place. So spiritual transference is merely, and let me tell you how desperate they getting. They doing it online. Y'all know that? They doing it to folks that they find online. Because everybody else done left and walked away. They done figured that out. Oh, you just trying to transfer your bad energy to me. So then they got to go online and they are quite desperate for somebody to transfer that to. They are quite desperate to transfer that to somebody else. Now, there are a lot of people that think that just because a person is single, and this is another indoctrination by religion, people are out scouring the internet looking for people that don't conform to that Bible. And those are the people that they attack. Those are the people that they are trying to transfer their bad spiritual energy to. And this is a non-reality for most of you. Because for most of you, you're going to transfer it. That person might get a little cold, a little flu virus. They might get a little flu virus, a cold virus. But then that problem is going to continue to manifest within your body. Because it's not real healing if you don't heal yourself. It's not real healing if you don't use the energies within your body and then also the earthly body, which is why we use herbs. And I use quite a few of herbs to heal myself. I've had this one person, boy, they have been really, and I don't know what's wrong with these people. I believe that they deal with, I believe that people that do stuff like that, they are not living within reality at all. Because I'll put together a potion of eucalyptus leaves and calendula and chamomile and lavender and wipe it completely out, and it's on its way back to you. So you've got to be able to recognize the entity, because to be honest with you, why are people anemic? When you ask yourself, why am I anemic? Because it's something feeding off of your root chakra. And it feeds off of iron. Because your body, when it was created by God, it was created perfectly. But what those entities did was they said, well, nah, we can see that God done created, whoever created these earthly beings, they done created them to just be perfect, and their body just works perfectly. So what they'll do is they'll start to feed off of the minerals of your body. And that's where it's a problem, because if your body is missing a certain amount of minerals and even toxins, sometimes, you know, there's certain toxins, because in order for you to defecate, there has to be a toxin, right? Otherwise, people would just eat and it wouldn't have to be nothing to come out the other end. So toxins are sometimes important to a degree. Minerals, amino acids. The human body is perfect for the humans, and these entities, the reason why they done moved on is because they're looking, they feel like we're lower, and they'll tell you, they'll say, oh, well, you're lower vibrational because I can't feed off of you. They'll tell you, if I can't feed off of you, you're lower vibration. Well, sometimes you got to lower your vibration so that they can't feed off of you. That's actually a good thing. When somebody, when an evil entity that's feeding off of you tells you, well, your vibrations are lower, that's a good sign. Just say, good, I'm glad that my vibrations was low, because they feed off of that higher vibrational energy force field. They feed off of that. And then when they bring you down, they feed off of the pain. And they think, oh, well, I'm healing my own pain by feeding off of you. But that's a non-reality, because as you can see, you woke up this morning and you was just as lower than ever. Your energy was low. Your physical strength was low. Your vibrations was low. All of this is coming from your entire spiritual etheric body. All of it is. So in reality, nobody needs to really feed off of anybody. Now, we're not talking about animals. Our ancestors ate animals, and they had to eat animals because of these interdimensional beings. They had to. They had no choice. Otherwise, a human being, but from the time that you come out of your mama's body, you're suckling her breast. So human beings do have to eat. That's why you get hungry. Okay, so a lot of people are very, very sleep on what is going on. But the main thing that I see is spiritual transference. I have people every single day trying to transfer their spiritual illnesses to me. Every day. They wake up early. They can't even sleep. Oh, I couldn't even sleep last night. I'm so damn sick. See, if you can sleep, then you're not sick. And every day they trying to feed off of you, or they trying to transfer it. At first it was feeding. It's a feeding, and then it's also a transference. And what they'll say to themselves, and what they'll make promises to other people, and say, well, this person gonna be dead within a year, because boy, we just hitting this person up. We just doing it. Look, that's a non-reality. And it's not a reality in that other person's mind that you're able to do that. So whatever you accept as reality, that's what's gonna be your reality. So if you have a belief system that these interdimensional beings can kill you, then they surely will kill you. They will. And a lot of people do have that belief system that they are not stronger than those entities. But why would you have to be afraid of an entity that has to feed off of you? Why would you need to be afraid of that? Something that's a non-reality. So a lot of us are living within a delusion. The delusion that you have to sacrifice the life of another to obtain your own life force. Now, there's some people, a lot of them are just demonic entities. And if they trying to feed, then you better believe that this is probably a shape-shifting demon that can shape-shift into several different realities. Can we coexist with these people? No, we can't, and they know it, which is why they are really, really, really feeding. They on a feeding frenzy right now, because they know that their time in this existence is up. It's been up since 2015, to be honest with you. And the only reason why they're able to feed off of you is because you have a belief system that they're able to do it. So then they'll continue to do it until you tell it, well, you don't have no power over me. But you can sit up there and say it all day long. But if you don't put no spiritual knowledge and analysis with it, it means nothing. If you're not talking to the right people, and if you're not understanding the whole process of breaking free of that. Now, in my Legacy of the Divine Tarot deck, this is my favorite deck. Whenever the High Priestess shows up in my reading, I know that there's a spiritual contract on you. And I have to have other cards with it. Let me show y'all what I'm talking about. I'm going to pull out the High Priestess card in my deck. So this is the reason why I use the heck out of this deck. I need to get another deck, but this deck is very, very weathered. But it's my favorite deck, the Legacy of the Divine Tarot. Okay. Let me show y'all what I'm talking about real quick. Okay. So you guys see this card? What is she holding in her hand? She's holding a spiritual contract in her hand, and it's binded with a red cord. Her fingers are covering up the rest of the cord, but you can see the cord right there. See that? There's a red cord, which represents your root chakra. So I can tell if there's a contract out on your family, on your brothers, your sisters, your mama, and your daddy. I can tell by that. She brings a lot of information with her. She's holding a pomegranate, which is very, very powerful in spiritual nature. But the main aspect of this card is that in her right hand is a contract. See that? And you notice how her fingers are going as above and so below. And she's telling you what it is. There's a couple of other cards that come up in your reading. So when you guys are looking at your spiritual readings, these readings are not for entertainment value. They're not, okay? A lot of people will say, well, it's for entertainment purposes. No, not over here. Not over here. Okay, hold on a second. Let me show y'all another card. I'll show y'all the devil in a minute. And I've been meaning to come with my tarot lessons, the free tarot lessons that I do on this channel. Let's look at this one. That's the hanging man, or the hanged man. He's being suspended up in the air, and there's an hourglass that is tilted to the side. So when you take an hourglass, and see, I can even freeze my enemies. I do a lot of work with this hourglass. I love this. This is my favorite spiritual tool. So if you have an hourglass and it's about halfway filled, like 30 minutes, because this is a 1 hour glass, right? So there's 30 minutes. And so let's say that, you know, let's let this run a little bit. So I'll show you. So the same depiction is in this card. And it's wrapped up in a mirror, right? You can see there's a mirror, but you can see how time is standing still. Okay. So this is when something, and if I'm not mistaken, I thought that there was also something else in there, but that's also a sign that there's a contract on you and that your time is running out. Okay. Let me jump off camera because I wasn't planning on being on camera today. So so when I do a spiritual reading for you, you know, I go really, really deep and I let you know. And I always do the past life readings on people because the past life readings are going to be very, very, they're going to be very, very important. 9 times out of 10, for example, I'll use myself as an example. I was born in 1977. So 77, if you were born during 77, then that was a very, very lucky year, which is why my chart is very powerful. Okay. So a lot of people that were born in that year are very important people. And so that's why people run around and say, oh, but you just old and you just stupid and then you just ignore that stuff because they foolish. So if you were born in 77, 9 times out of 10, you probably died 9 months to a year prior to your reincarnation into this earth, right? So your past life is going to be very important to what's going on. So get the past life readings. Those are very, very important for you to know who you were. And you cannot necessarily be stuck in the now as far as what's happening now, because right now is we got a non-reality. It's a lot of people that are not living in reality. They're just not. They ain't living in reality. You are stuck in this confusion and a delusion. And a lot of people have no idea how to get out of it. So there's a lot of people that feel like, well, if I stop being a Christian, or if I stop being a Muslim, or if I stop which Muslim is quite different from Christianity, which is why I never bring up that religion. But in my opinion, Christianity, Catholicism, as well as Jehovah's Witnessing, they're all under the same thing. These are made up religions, which is basically witchcraft. Mm-hmm. Right, Empress said it correctly. You have to be careful when you get readings from people, because a lot of people will see only the surface, and that is true. That is true, because in order for you to get down to because you know what, a lot of us, when we incarnate, what do we want? We want and we crave love. So what's the first thing that they took from you? They took love from you. They took love from you. They took your mother's love from you, didn't they? So there's always a good side and a bad side to everything, right? So this is why I've got Gemini all up and through my chart. And I love that I have that Gemini, because the Gemini that is all throughout my chart, it allows me to look at both ends and both sides. Okay, yeah. Your mother's love was taken from you, but more than likely it was so that you could love yourself. The reason why your mother's love was taken from you is so that you could love yourself. So everything has a good side and a bad side to it. Okay? Now, let's take a look at the devil card real quick. Let's look at the devil card. I'm going to light up a candle real quick for you guys, because I got to have some light. And I've been keeping the lights off, guys, because, you know, these beings, they can travel through light. You wouldn't believe how many beings can travel through light and light bulbs and energy, because energy begats energy. Let me show you the devil card. I would recommend every reader to own this deck, because if you own this deck, you're going to learn the legacy of the divine. Whoever created this deck has got to be a millionaire, multimillionaire. Whoever created this deck, because this is the most amazing deck, and I've been using it like crazy. Hi, Mary. Okay, so let's look at the devil card. So the devil represents your solar plexus, doesn't he? Look at the hourglass and the devil. You notice how the other half of the glass is about a third full, and the other half is full. So this is your spiritual energy, but this is how this so-called devil aspect, or this devil, and again, it just really depends on how you see yourself spiritually. So there's a lot of people, especially Christians, boy, they give all the power to the devil, to this so-called devil that was, by the way, made up, right? So the devil is holding your spiritual energy and denying you of that, right? That's why this person looks like they are suffering. The devil actually represents when you are breaking free of your fears. Now, if it's in the reverse position, and when it's accompanied by other cards like the Seven of Swords, the Seven of Pentacles, you know, this is when your energy is being stolen from you by something else. So the devil is actually, again, interdimensional beings, okay? Because these interdimensional beings, they feed off of this entire planet. They've been feeding off this planet for a very, very, very long time, okay? Hey, Quintessential. Exactly. It's my favorite deck, and it's my main deck too. I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you are somebody that knows that you possess a talent, so this is the reason why singers, rappers, actors, they go into it blindly, and they go into it, but they don't really have the spiritual protection or the discernment that it requires to even be, using their spiritual gifts. So there's a lot of people that they'll just use their spiritual gifts, and literally they don't really know how to protect themselves. They don't. Faith York, it's called The Legacy of the Divine Tarot. So this is a very, very powerful deck. I have other decks where there's certain cards that tell me certain things. Like, for example, the Wheel of Fortune. So there's quite a few other decks that I do enjoy using, but this is one of my main decks that I love. I love this deck. Trying to find another card in here that I can tell you. Oh, I love this one. Let's look at this one. Let's look at the Moon card in this deck. You notice how both of these figures that are standing on the side of this woman, they are actually both holding an ankh. Okay, and the ankh represents divine feminine, divine masculine energy, but divine feminine energy mostly, and the womb, and then also other things the ankh represents. But you can see where there's certain signs that I can see in this, and this is where a person might be using your spiritual power against you, or they may be setting up some kind of trap for you. And a lot of times this card is about using your intuition, just like the High Priestess is. They both represent the Cancer. Okay, the Cancer and the Zodiac, both of them represent the Cancer for a reason. So when you're thinking about this, you have to stop thinking about it in fear. A lot of times what the Moon card can represent is, what are your subconscious fears? Subconscious fears or fears that you may have that they ain't even real. It's a non-reality. If you accept that non-reality, then you've been duped. I'm good, Arena. Thank you. So they've got a gateway to the Divine Tarot. I think I may order that then, because I really do like whoever created this one. But a lot of people think that when it depends on what I'm doing. It depends on what the surrounding cards are. It really does. And every time I offer tarot classes, people tell you that the tarot ain't nothing. Don't listen to that. People will say, oh, well, the tarot ain't nothing. You should just know. Well, yeah, we do just know. But if I'm doing 3 or 4 readings for somebody per day, I don't necessarily want your spirits to go through me, because I am a medium. So if I just sit with you and I don't have a medium to channel, the cards are used to channel the energy so that those entities are not, and I still have to go up and I have to take spiritual baths and stuff to cleanse that stuff off of me. So when a High Priestess comes up in your reading, followed by the Seven of Swords, followed by the Hanged Man or something like that, then I can tell that there's a contract out on you. And you won't even know it. You will have no idea. You'll just be going through life with all these bad luck circumstances and stuff. And then some people, they have bad luck. And then something else will come along that will give them good luck. But then all of a sudden, everything is bad. But then some people, boy, they just have a rash of bad. Just all bad. So well, whoever that was that created this tarot deck, they had a really, really good eye for spirituality. They really did. And, you know, I really enjoy this deck because I use it for all of my consultations. I just use this deck for all of my consultations, all of them. What's crazy is that 2 years ago, I was studying abroad, and there was a lady providing a tarot reading. Because of my ignorance, I booked an entirely different room on the other side of town out of fear. Glad I woke up. Yeah, if you just have a rash of bad in your life, that means that there was a contract that was taken out on you. That's why the devil comes up and it lets you know, look, you're going to have to fulfill this contract, and you don't have to do it. You don't have to. So a lot of people will just give in to that. And that's what that hanged man represents, when you are surrendering. And the surrender can sometimes feel good because you just kind of give up on that energy, and you kind of give up on yourself, and you say, well, I'm just going to be a sacrifice. Sacrifice is an illusion when it comes to human beings. That's an illusion. Another card that I like in this deck is the Eight of Swords. This lets me know that you can't even see it. You in a web of deception and you can't even see it. So this is when they have affected your mind to the point where you're blind to it, and you would rather just accept nothing than do something about it. You're just like, well, you know, it's just the way that it is. And so, like I said, I was thinking about Prince all night long, and I love Prince. He's my favorite. He's actually my favorite artist. You know, he's the person that taught me a lot about my sexuality. Okay. And so, but he had a belief that his love life was cursed. So we're going to be doing a spiritual reading on Prince, the singer, because I think that he's going to, that reading that I do is going to be very important, in particular to Geminis, because, Geminis, you can understand a Gemini all day and night, but if they don't understand themselves, then there's going to be a huge problem. There's going to be a huge problem when it comes to the gems out there. And then also to all air signs. There's always a problem with the air signs, and then the Pisces, because the Pisces, they actually represent duality. They're the only water sign that represents duality, which is also air. And then also the Aquariuses, they are the ones that represent duality as well. Well, all of the three air signs represent duality. And right now, there's a huge bidding on. So there's certain zodiac signs that they are the, they're being used for different purposes. And so a lot of my readings, I'll do the love readings and everything, but really the readings that are important are those general spiritual readings. Those are very, very important. Hmm. So, if there is something that you need to heal from, stop avoiding the reality of that healing and stop trying to transfer things to other people. Because when that entity is done ripping that unknowing person apart, they coming for you. And if you have the reality of hell in your head, then that's surely where you will go. So there's a lot of people that are deeply, deeply programmed to accept hell as a reality. But there's a lot of us that we don't accept hell as a reality. You know, hell is now. Your afterlife more than likely has nothing to do with hell, but you have been convinced that that is where you're going to go when you die. But as you can see, we're experiencing hell on earth right now. So again, hell is a non-reality unless you make it a reality. So the reality of hell is created by us because we're all creationists. And then there's people like me that can speak to the people that are in this hell. And we can say, you're only there because you choose to be there. It is a reality for you. Why won't you choose something else? But a lot of people don't have the proper education as far as, you know, that reality, because reality will always be created by you. Reality is always created by you. Okay? So my whole thing about it is that I have healed myself so many times enough to know the difference. And when you're healing from a generational curse, the person that put that generational curse on you is going to continue to try to reapply it because they're doing a spiritual transference to you, which is a non-reality, and it's only a reality if you accept it. And as you can see, our parents transferred that to us, but it still didn't make no difference, did it? Hey, Miss L. The reality of it is that when your parents, because a lot of y'all, your parents, you know, and a lot of times they gonna keep fighting because they have accepted that indoctrination. And what you have to say to that entity is, well, I don't accept this indoctrination. Why should I have to accept it? That's just like in the devil's advocate. When they were on the train and the guy told him, he said, you know, he said, you need to get off this train. And the devil told him, he said, why? I'm having a good time. Why I gotta leave? See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you got to understand that all of these are personal choices that you are making in the spirit. They are personal choices. So, for example, if you have a parent that is sick and then you start to manifest those same symptoms within yourself, well, then you've had a case of a spiritual transference, that of which you have every right to transfer it back because your parent chose to take this so-called easy way out instead of facing the lion and saying, this doesn't exist. Not really. So I am a witch and I'm a practitioner, but when it comes to my people that I'm supposed to help, I don't have no tricks. All I have is reality. I don't have tricks. I don't have no trick bag. That ain't how I practice. But there's a lot of people that instead of them actually doing the spiritual work that it's required, a lie or a trick is going to be laid down instead of telling you the truth of your situation, which is that you do have the ability to heal. And there's never going to be any personal growth until you heal. You can't have growth without healing. When? Since when? Since when are you going to ever have any spiritual growth without healing yourself first? That ain't going to never happen. It's just not the reality of it. So when you look at spiritual realities versus, so a lot of people, they think that all of spiritualism is just it's just a joke. It's just a con game. Well, why is it that I've healed so many people then? How did I do that then? How did I do that if it was just a trick or a con game? And it don't have nothing to do with no demon, which demons are not all bad, but it don't have nothing to do with no demon that's going to come in and temporarily give you healings. There have been plenty of spiritualists that have had things that run in their family, like generational curses that affect your health, money, freedom, mind. Why are they 90 and 100 years old and they still alive? How did that happen? How did they do that? How they do that then? So whenever you have somebody that is a spiritualist, and see, everybody attracts different people. So there's a lot of people that will go and literally when you find out that you got conned, then that was on you because your heart wasn't in the right place at that time anyway. So when you go to a spiritual, you say, well, I was trying to control this other person, and this spiritualist promised me that they was going to do this and that, and they conned me out of this and that. No, you conned yourself because your heart wasn't in the right place to begin with. And what that spiritualist, if you would have saw somebody authentic, they would have said, whoa, wait a minute. Wait. The problem is within you, not that other person that you're trying to get work done on. The problem is within you. Now, if you are dealing with somebody that practices Christianity and Catholicism, these are the enemies, straight up. I don't care what nobody says. They are the enemies. That it's almost like anime. I actually started pronouncing enemy is anime because that's where it's not. Because an enemy, to be honest with you, an enemy is there to open up your eyes, but then you don't want to become your own enemy, and you don't want that enemy to convince you to be your own enemy or your worst enemy. You don't want to do that. So it's all about the mind, which is what the strength card is about. Y'all remember in American Horror Story Coven? And y'all remember Angela Bassett? Her sitting up there on her throne, and this woman was hundreds of years old, and the existence of death does not exist for her because it just doesn't exist, death and sickness. So this is why there's some people that are able to live hundreds of years. There's some people walking around this earth that are thousands of years old. Y'all don't even realize how old they are. So whenever you have a person, even if they die of any kind of sickness, which most people that have immortality, they don't accept that because they know that it's not a reality. So I'm not telling you, well, you never have to die, but nobody wants to die, do they? Nobody want to die. That's very painful. See the strength card? Can't nobody come and tell me nothing about myself. Can't can't nobody come and tell me what I'm gonna go through, or what I'm gonna think about, or what's gonna manifest my thoughts that are in me. But see, a lot of y'all, you were given over to that, and there's a lot of people that cannot come out of that because it's a habit. It's a brain forming habit, just like a drug addiction. A lot of times, if you think that you can do a spiritual transference, that's just your mind telling you that. But in reality, eventually that demon's going to tear you down because you don't see reality, and you don't see the reality within yourself that has a healing ability. Now, this is the reason why a lot of people that have diabetes, what happens? They have slower wound healing. Okay, so when you have diabetes, you can't heal from nothing, right? That is because you have convinced your mind that you can't heal, and those things will start to manifest as those diseases. So I've healed people of a lot of that, and a lot of people that don't want to accept that healing, it is because they are afraid. And they have absolutely been convinced that there's no other way out. So by the time you done got diagnosed with that, 9 times out of 10, if you've been diagnosed with like diabetes or something, this can lead to pancreatic cancer. And pancreatic cancer is going to take you out so quick. And there's a lot of herbs that will heal you of cancer. But, these things are going to be still suppressed all the way up 10 years from now. And only a select few are going to be lucky enough to find a spiritualist that is me, or somebody that is like me, that is an expert on healing. Okay. Yeah, I've got the Legacy of the Divine Tarot. I want to get the Gateway too, though. I want to get that deck too. So I'm going to actually order that deck. If you almost died, Miss L, and you didn't, that means that you're a healer. Most healers have almost died. I've almost died several times. When I was on my way to Georgia, I almost died on the highway. A lot of us that have almost died over and over again, that means that you're a healer. So there's a lot of different symptoms. Now, is everybody a healer? Yeah, everybody has healing capabilities, but a lot of people's healing abilities have been so suppressed that they're just sick all the time. And a lot of people thought that it had something to do with diet, but diet plays a role in it. But it's all about the way you see things, and it's all about balance. You shouldn't be taking in a lot of something unless you are nutrient deficient. Then you want to look at your diet and say, okay, well, then I may need to do a lot of this to replace this. But please believe that, for your body to be deficient on anything, it's got to be something that's feeding off of it. Yeah, that's what it will make you feel like. And then also it's about protection. What good would it do to these entities if you're dead? They can't feed off of you if you're dead. So that's why a lot of people, it'll carry you forth through probably until your, 60s or 70s, which in reality, we're supposed to be very, very healthy up until our 90s, 100s, and maybe even 200. Y'all remember when it was a time where we would live until we were 200 or 300 years old? Well, these interdimensional beings have made that a non-reality for so many people. So your lifespan will be shortened. Anyway, guys, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The moral to this teaching today is that it is better for you to heal yourself than to try to transfer your bad energy to someone else, because you have to face yourself. You got to look at the man in the mirror. In the great words of MJ, Michael Jackson, You got to look at the man in that mirror, which is why another very spiritual card that I really, really like is the Hermit. So the Hermit, when you don't have a bunch of folks surrounding you and you don't have a bunch of people that's being yes men in your life, guess what? Then that would make you the Hermit. And as you can see, the light is being illuminated on the chest area, and you can even see a heart in there. So you got to look at yourself. It all lies within yourself. Nothing else really matters. This is what matters, is self. It's not that you have to be selfish or you have to be like, a lot of people think, oh, well, the Hermit means that you in isolation and or either you in some kind of mental prison or something. No, it depends on the surrounding cards. I can tell a lot about what you're going through spiritually just by, doing a reading. And, like I said, there's a lot of people that want to try to discredit me because I use the cards. But again, they are a tool, and they are a very valuable tool, because I don't want to always walk through the darkness, not exactly through you, because I can turn into you. I can mimic anybody. As an empath, empaths are very special because they will absorb all of your negative energy. So this is why there's a lot of empaths on here that as soon as you say you're an empath, you're automatically being fed upon, or not necessarily being fed upon it. Some people can't be fed upon. They just gonna, place all their spiritual bad stuff into you. And if you're not smart enough, you will start to manifest those same symptoms within yourself. And if you don't have the knowledge of how to get it off of you, then you just gonna, your health will decline and your mind will decline. And the mind goes before the health goes. Usually it's your mind that goes first before your health. Okay. I've been under surgery more than 20 times in 1 year, been suffering from leg ulcers for 19 years. They take years to heal. That's got something to do with your root chakra, quintessential. It's got something to do, anything that affects the legs is directly at the root chakra. And it seems like it's been going up to, now it's affecting your third eye. So a lot of spiritualists, if you come and tell them that, they're going to be deathly afraid. They'll be afraid to deal with that. And then there's even some things that I don't take on, but what I will do is I will sit with that person and I will educate them on how to heal themselves. And then people have made some differences in their life, because there's some things that once it gets so far gone that you can't, another person, another spiritualist wouldn't touch it. And then there's some spiritualists, but it would, it would cost you some money. It would actually cost you, a pretty penny to go to somebody else and be healed of that. Mm-hmm. You gotta, there's many different steps that you have to take, quintessential, to stop mimicking other people's traumas. The main thing is going to be working on your shield, because what they were able to do, especially if you were a healer, they were able to break your shield. So you have to learn how to put that shield back up. And you can't see that shield. You can't really see it. It's something that is invisible, and you have to have faith in it. So I wouldn't be able to do the job that I'm doing if I were not able to shield myself from other people's traumas. Like, I'll get like maybe 1% of it, of whatever it is that's taken, all of their life. So I'll be able to see it. And I actually rewired my spiritual gifts, because, at first, when I first came out here, I was just literally a sponge, and people know that you a sponge. And if they know that you a sponge, then they will definitely transfer that stuff to you. And a lot of them are doing it on purpose. That's why I don't hang around hospitals and clinics and stuff like that. I tend to, even when my daughter had her baby, I didn't want to be at that hospital. You know what I'm saying? And I still don't share the opinion that women should have babies at a hospital. A hospital is a place for people go to die. Hospital, hospice, death. So women should not be giving birth in hospitals. They shouldn't. But they've controlled and programmed so many people to have fear of birth that, that's where women go. And then, you know, and it's just really sad the way that they have taken a lot of those things away from nature. And then also there's if you're not smart about what you're doing while you're at that hospital, then somebody else can steal your spiritual energy of the birth of your child, or either put something else in it in your child. So yeah. If you're a healer, so all empaths are not healers and all healers are not empaths. So if you are a healer, then people can suck and siphon energy off of you. But if you are an empath, you got a double-edged sword, because people will not only be able to transfer their stuff to you, but they'll also be able to take what you have in the spirit. And there's a lot of signs of that. And it depends on the person. It really does. And y'all got to be careful out here. Okay? Because like I said, there's somebody, he's constantly trying to send his spiritual energy to me, constantly, like damn near every day. And if he really ain't feeling good, he'll just try to transfer his whole entire illness to me, and I'll have to send it back to him. So guys, before I go, I want to show you guys, because, okay, so you see this hourglass, right? If you turn it to the side, then time is standing still. So that's what I was showing you, that in that hanged man. So a lot of times when it comes to spiritual energy, and this was actually one of my grandmother's favorite things, she actually had several different types of hourglasses in her house. She had a lot of them that it was an hourglass, but it was some of them more fancy ones. My grandmother was a really good astrologist, and she was really into it. But if you've got an hourglass, and I use this again for my spiritual work, this is what I use primarily to stop psychic attacks for you guys. So if you call me and you say, hey, I'm under psychic attack, what I'll do is I'll flip it over. Okay. So a lot of times during my own psychic attacks, I'll take this, and then this will give you grounding. So different spiritual tools can be used for different purposes. It just depends on how you animate that tool. But anyway, guys, I gotta go. I'm hungry. Yeah, if you are a healer and an empath, then you really gonna have folks that's gonna be, coming after you. And see, a lot of you are not like me. I'm on YouTube, so a lot of people think, oh, you're on YouTube, so that means that you've opened us up to all of your, and they'll even tell you, well, if you put yourself out there, then you up for feeding. No, you're not. That's not true. They'll say, oh, we have the right to feed off of you because you putting yourself out there. No, that's another non-reality. And a lot of those people, they end up suffering from some pretty bad illnesses, because technically you're not supposed to suffer before you die. You ain't supposed to be suffering before you die. That's why there's some people that die of natural causes, okay? And natural causes is that you have decided that you want to leave your physical body and go somewhere else. And so a lot of y'all think, well, my afterlife will be this, and this, da, 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 da. But your afterlife is not going to be what you think it is, because you have that contract on you. And literally you'll say, well, I don't accept this afterlife, or I don't accept this. And then also reincarnation. I'm going to come back and talk to you guys about reincarnation, because a lot of people do not understand reincarnation. They don't have a deeper level of understanding for reincarnation. And then also past lives. So I will see you guys later. I gotta go. I am hungry and I'm ready to go and escape into some movies and stuff. Another thing that I can tell you is that as a spiritualist, a lot of people, it'll shy you away from spirituality, because a lot of people will say, well, this person is always going through this and always going through that. And you say, well, I don't want to touch this because this person, like, girl, bye. I be going off into my little fantasies and going off into my realities, my own realities. So I heal every single day. I go through the trials and tribulations of what I do for a living and what I do spiritually, which is same thing for a living. Because I wouldn't be alive still if I didn't do this. And I truly believe that, discovering myself spiritually is the only thing that saved me. Okay. So anyway, guys, I will see you guys later. Have a happy Thursday. If you guys need to reach me for a psychic reading or either a consultation, I do offer I offer hex removals, cleanses, money spells, money unblockings, love bindings, reunion spells, marry me spells, where you want him to make a commitment. Okay, or you want him to make a commitment and he's just not doing it. I do provide that spell work, as well as I just added fertility work. And then also I do provide spiritual guidance for other spiritualists. So if you are a spiritualist, then you can come to me for some help. And then also I do a lot of cleansings and hex removers for spiritualists. So if you guys need to reach me, go to the website, get a consultation. And I am working on my schedule for Friday, Saturday. We got a new moon coming up. So, I was, I was kind of wanting to get like a day of rest, but Spirit said you can rest later. So we'll worry about all that later, because I get plenty of rest at night. I'm one of them people that, you just got to be able to handle this. And a lot of people can't handle it. And I've been through that. I'll come back later and tell you guys about a lot of the lessons that I learned as being a spiritualist when I started practicing witchcraft 15 years ago. And I'm going to tell you something. A lot of these people doing this dark magic, they can't even sleep at night. They can't sleep. I go to sleep every night and I sleep like a baby. Okay? Unless Spirit got some messages for me, But anyway, I will see you guys later. Love, light, peace, and blessings to you guys. Namaste.